Hey guys, welcome to the Hyundai i20N. Now for me, this was one of the best new cars to come out in Australia last year. Why? Well, there's a lot to like about this car and very little to dislike. It goes up against the likes of the Ford Fiesta ST and the Volkswagen Polo GTI. For starters, I love the look of it. It's pretty cute, like it's a small car, but it's very well proportioned, as in it's quite wide, it's quite fat, but it's not too tall. Then you've got the trademark Hyundai N red striping all the way around, continues around the front as well, and then quite an aggressive rear spoiler on the back there. Hyundai has gone for the fashionable dark alloy wheels, the sort of gunmetal grey or even darker than gunmetal grey, and then red painted brakes hiding behind. They aren't crazy brakes, you know, they're not multi-piston Brembos or anything like that with carbon ceramic discs. They're just pretty normal brakes. But one of the key sort of characteristics or the key attractions to this car is its lightness. It only weighs around 1,250 kilograms, which is great news for everything. So braking, handling, performance, even fuel economy. At the front end, if you get really low, you can see an intercooler right down the bottom there, which is pretty cool. It's kind of aftermarket-like. And then you do have some vents in the sides that do actually go through. There's a couple of little fake ones on the inside there, but these side ones actually go through and then come out the back there, helping with the turbulence around the wheels and things like that. Now this example is painted in the trademark Hyundai N Performance Blue, and it features the black roof, which again I think looks really cool. It's quite fashionable. It's still on trend at the moment. Yeah, and it really stands out among many rivals. Under the bonnet we have a 1.6 litre turbo 4-cylinder. This is lifted pretty much from the Veloster turbo that we used to get. It is the latest Smart Stream design engine, so it's not the old 1.6 turbo that you used to get in the Veloster and the i20. This is the new engine. One of the key differences is peak torque is 275 Newton meters during overboost, up from 265. At first, I was a little bit disappointed to hear that this is just a lift-out engine from a conventional i30 or something like that. But they've done some good things to it, including giving it a nice beefy exhaust sound, because some of the early Velosters, and even though this is a different engine, early Velosters and i30 N line, for example, they don't sound very good. It's got a very muffled sound, whereas this, it's got a bimodal exhaust, hit the button and it produces some pops and crackles. When you first look inside, it looks pretty practical and sort of typical Hyundai. Big door pockets for bottles, dual cup holders and things like that. But there are a few N trademark highlights, such as the blue stitching, some checkered flag pattern on the seats there, big chunky seats in the front that really hold you in, big side bolsters, and then a unique steering wheel, pedals, gear shifter, and then more blue detailing around the trim, on the door trims there. It is a pretty cheap car, $32,490 it starts from in Australia, so quite a few scratchy plastics around the place. Although I do like this textured plastic up on the dash here. Like, it is still hard, but at least it's something different from the typical, elephant skin pattern that you get from, 1990. It's got this different sort of, almost like a carbon fiber look to it. I'll start it up. Push button start, which is quite good for a $32,490 vehicle. And yeah, a fully digital gauge cluster there, which is quite unique for this class. I'm not a huge fan of digital clusters or digital screens in general, actually, because they're, I don't know, I find them quite sterile. They take away the sort of, any sort of machining or engineering. They're just a screen, whereas up here with the multimedia, I guess that's a good thing because it packages most things into one unit. But yeah, I like a mechanical dial or something like that. Just looks a bit more, attention to detail. Although these days the graphics are quite nice, and in particular this model is quite nice as well. And you can change the display themes depending on which drive mode you're in. So that's the standard normal mode. Looks quite nice. You've got these grey dials with a black background. There's a bit of shadowing around the corners there. Hit the N mode and it becomes a completely different screen. A big rev counter in the middle, and then a even turbo boost PSI pressure gauge on the side there, which is pretty cool. The steering wheel is a nice size. I'm just not a fan of this design here with the spokes. I don't know, it looks a bit 2010 to me. But yeah, the rim is actually nice to hold, good position. You can lower it, push it in and out and things like that. It's not perfectly vertical, but it's quite good. Over on the main touchscreen, you've got everything that a modern Hyundai comes with: Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, all of that stuff. The most exciting app within all of this is the N mode. So here's where you can find access to, you know, all sorts of telemetry, and even a lap timer. It'll pick up, you can set it to pick up your laps automatically, so you don't even have to touch anything, but you do have to program the laps in. I think this has only got 2 tracks. Yeah, 2 tracks loaded into it at the moment. Hyundai said they're going to feed more into it soon. But yeah, I've driven this around Wakefield Park, Winton Raceway, and Sydney Motorsport Park, and it just picks it up automatically. You just keep driving and it will just count your laps. It'll even track your progress and, you know, give you a hint of how fast you should be going to beat the previous lap and things like that. I like the fact that the climate control panel is separated down here, and these toggle switches are actually quite nice. Very easy. You straight away know, yep, that's the temperature up and down, fan speed up and down, and it's even got this subtle blue trimming there, which is quite nice. It feels like it is rubber as well. Down below, it's surprising again for this class to have a wireless phone charger, multiple charging ports, including a big 12-volt socket. In terms of the passenger space, it's not too bad. I mean, it's a small car, but it doesn't feel cramped or claustrophobic. It actually feels quite spacious. The way the dash extends right around, it gives that perception that you've got a bit more space than what you actually have. Great visibility as well. You can see out the sides. I can see straight over the top quite easily, and even straight over that side mirror. So there's going to be no problems driving around or nipping about in the city. Check out the back seats. Even before we get in, you can see there's quite a bit of room there. Obviously no width, but yeah, the leg room actually looks pretty good. And once I get in, yeah, plenty of room there. I won't shut the door because I've got some light coming in here so you can see, but I've got plenty of room to move about. I don't feel like I'm really tied in here. The center seat is obviously where it's going to get a bit tighter, being such a small and narrow car. It's actually not too bad. I mean, you can't put your feet anywhere. You can sort of put them up the top if you've got small feet, I suppose. But yeah, like in an emergency, or, you know, you just need someone to run you down to the shops or something like that, I think that's totally fine. There is no climate vent in the back, but again, it's quite a small car. Maybe it doesn't need one, or maybe that's what Hyundai thought. But you do have a charging port with a nice little slot to put your phone. So obviously it does have a pretty small boot, being a small car, but you do have a multi-level floor, so you can take that panel out and actually get a bit more space, but that just means you've got to sort of bend down a bit more, I suppose. I've just bought a new tripod. I just want to see how that holds it while we go for a drive, but it seems like it holds it pretty well. You might notice Bose speakers on the side there and in all the doors. So this car does come with a lot of standard features, including a premium stereo, which is quite nice. Let's take it for a drive and see how it goes. So to start with, I'll go back to the normal mode. So you've got Eco, Normal and Sport mode using this button down here. And then on the steering wheel you've got 2 N buttons. It is a bit confusing, but basically the one on the left is for a custom mode, so you can mix and match different parameters and hit that, and then it's kind of like your custom setting. Or you can hit the button on the right, which goes to full maximum performance mode, And it also turns the stability control into a sporty setting. And it activates the rev matching function, which you can turn off just by hitting this nice looking red button there. But yeah, I'll go back to the normal mode to start with. One thing I do notice, or did notice straight away as soon as I picked this up today, is the firm ride. It is quite jittery and firm. Obviously this is a high performance hot hatch, so that's what you're paying for basically. It feels very sporty though, so very darty. You can change direction really quickly, hardly any body roll, and yeah, that gives you that sort of agile feeling, that excited feeling when you're driving it. You'll have to excuse there's a rattle going on in the back. It's like the parcel shelf or something. This is a very coarse road. I like driving this road to test out cars. It's got a lot of bumps and divots in it and things. And it's a coarse surface as well. So I guess you've got, you know, that knot on its side, uncovering all the rattles and things. But I didn't notice it on the highway. I think it's just this road that has sort of provoked it and made it more noticeable. So when you're in normal mode, it feels like a nice hot hatch. It's not overly hardcore. The engine sound in particular is just a nice thrum, a nice bassy thrum to it. Not really any crackles or pops or anything like that from the tailpipe. But yeah, it sounds like it's eager and playful. The throttle response is a little bit doughy in my opinion, particularly from low revs. I'll just stop here. I mean, this is a sort of downhill section, but to take off, I have stalled it a couple of times because you've got to give it a fair bit of revs just to, it's like first gear's too long, but it's obviously not very long. You just got to give it a bit of revs, but I guess you get used to these things once you own it for a while. All right, we'll hit the N performance mode. Straight away, the throttle response definitely improves. Third gear, up a hill, 2,500 RPM, floor it. Yeah, pretty good pickup. Again, that lightness really helps out there, so it doesn't have to haul a big heavy thing up the hill. But yeah, it feels quite responsive and fun. Okay, so we'll go back down the hill now. I'll give it a bit more. Got a rev limit buzzer there. It tells you when to upshift gears. I'm not sure if the GoPro is picking it up, but it's quite a firm, quite a bumpy road. So I am bobbling about quite a bit, but the camera's stability is probably making it look as smooth as anything. But yeah, you can get quite a bit of speed going, hard on the brakes. It's quite a friendly car to drive in that sense. Like, it's not intimidating at all to drive fast. And it never, surprises you with anything. It doesn't suddenly oversteer or understeer or anything like that. It's always ready to play. Good traction, power down traction, so you come around the corner. Does have a limited slip diff. Plant the throttle, and it rips you around the corner. You've actually got to stay really awake to keep the steering going exactly where you want it to go, because another car might slowly push understeer around a big corner, whereas this will just rip you around quicker than you think, and then you've got to get ready for the next corner straight away. Again, this road is quite technical, which I like. Really puts cars under pressure, but this car, it almost feels like it's too agile for this road. You can easily stay on your side of the road, very easily, even though this is a narrow road. Plant it. Yeah, awesome traction off the coming out of corners. It really grips up with those Pirelli tyres. Yeah, if this car has a standout highlight, it's that it's just so approachable. It doesn't surprise you with anything. So it doesn't suddenly oversteer or understeer. It just does everything gradually, although most of the time it's fully holding on and gripping up. We had one on the track at Winton Raceway a few weeks ago, and I was doing some pretty stupid things, like just laid on the brakes and just hooking it in there with the stability control completely off. The tail kicks out a little bit, get back on the power, back into second gear, plant it, and the limited slip diff just hooks you up and just throws you straight out of the corner beautifully. It's a very friendly, approachable car in that sense. And that's, I guess, is the makings of a well-sorted car. So obviously a lot of engineers have spent a lot of time on this to make sure that it does everything that the driver wants it to do. So even that corner, that's downhill, it normally causes understeer, but in this, I just applied some throttle and it just catapulted me down and around the corner. Quite remarkable. From inside the car, there is a bit of an electronic sort of sound enhancement kind of noise going on. Kind of sounds like Gran Turismo, the Sony PlayStation games. But you do get pops and crackles from the exhaust. There is an actual exhaust noise happening as well. So that's a bonus. I mean, not a bonus, that's a good thing. Because a lot of these new cars that are coming out now, they've just got the sound enhancement in the cabin, and then nothing from the tailpipe or nothing from the engine itself. It's just very quiet, whereas this, it does produce the sounds on the outside too. Good gear shifter as well. I haven't crunched any gears. It always seems to go where you want it to go. It doesn't, you know, want to skip gates or anything like that. And the clutch feel, it's pretty light, but again, it kind of feels a bit laggy off the mark, but I think that's got more to do with first gear and the way it takes off rather than through the rest of the gears. But yeah, the grip levels are huge. As I said, we had it on the track, and it's just, it feels like it's faster than any of the other N models. It really does. If it's not faster, it's giving you that confidence that you feel like you're going faster, which is, you know, half the fun really. It doesn't really matter what your time is, it's as long as you're having fun and feel like you're going really fast. But I feel like I could go faster in this compared with the other models. Maybe not the i30 hatch. I think that's probably the top in terms of track performance. But certainly quicker, or it feels quicker than the Kona N. It feels like you could push it harder than the Kona N and push it harder than the i30 Sedan N or Elantra N if you're overseas. Because it just has so much grip, and it's so forgiving as well. As I said, like, you can be so late on the brakes and it won't penalize you. It'll just go, okay, that's what you've made a mistake there, doesn't matter, turn in and I'll go through anyway. It's kind of, yeah, really capable in that regard. So out on the highway, it is much more refined. That rattle has gone from the course road that we're just on, and it's quite settled. The only thing that you do notice, I suppose, compared with a conventional car, is the revs are quite high. So I'm doing 110, and the revs are just approaching 3,000 RPM, 2,750. So it is sort of humming pretty high. But anyway, this is, yeah, overall, this is a cracking little car. It really is. Like, take one for a drive, see what you think. If you're in this market segment, even if you're not in this particular market segment, you know, you're looking at something a bit bigger or perhaps something that's not so sporty, take one of these for a drive either way, because you'll be surprised either way. You'll be surprised how comfortable it is, or can be. You'll be surprised how fast it is, if you weren't expecting or weren't looking for something that fast. You'll be surprised how well packaged it is with the digital screens and the Bose sound system, and you'll be surprised how spacious it is. It's really just, yeah, as I said, it's one of my favorite cars from 2021/2022. We'll be putting together a written review on our website soon. It'll go over sort of how we've experienced it over a week. We've already done the 0 to 100 video, so you can check that out. It'll be linked at the end of this video. Thanks for watching.